Hello everyone in Miss Groves' class at Martock Primary School. Thank you so much for reading The Boy Who Bite the World. I'm Alistair Humphreys, the author of the book. I'm an adventurer and a book writer, and thank you for your fantastic questions. Sounds like you've been doing some brilliant things, trying to learn about the world out there beyond where we live, getting excited about travels and adventures and escaping to wild and wonderful places. You've sent me some fantastic questions. I'm going to try and answer them now. Thank you. Frederick, did you ever get attacked by a wild animal? Well, nearly always wild animals are way more scared of humans than we are of them, and with very good reason. If you leave wild animals alone, they'll leave you alone. I got attacked by a lot of mosquitoes. But mostly I got attacked by dogs. People's dogs in a lot of countries in the world aren't nice, fluffy Labradors like in England. They are crazy, chasey things that love chasing after people on bikes. I got chased for miles and miles and miles once in China by a very angry, scary dog that only had 3 legs, but it could run very, very fast indeed. Olivia, what were some of your high points? Ooh, 5,000 meters in the Andes. It's pretty high on a bike. I think though you mean high points in terms of good stuff. Or I think my general highlights were either the times when I was completely alone, when no one in the world knew where I was and I was somewhere wild and beautiful and having to depend on myself. And the others was when I was invited by random kind families all around the world to share with their family life for a night or a few days. The kindness of people around the world is definitely one of the high points. Elise, how do you feel when you left home and your favourite country? When I left home, I felt sad, scared, out of my depth, really didn't want to go on this big adventure, really didn't want to do this hard thing, really just wanted to go home and hide and just do what everyone else was doing with their life. I was not keen at all. I was scared. Favourite country? Maybe Sudan or Colombia. They were similar to my first answer. They're places that felt scary at first, but actually were wonderful, brilliant places. Charlie, have you kept in touch with anyone you met on your adventure? I had an email today actually from a family I stayed with in Peru, who have just read my book about walking through Spain playing the violin, and they said hello. So yeah, it's nice to hear from people again. Austin, how far can you cycle in a day? Normally I went between about 50 and 100 miles in a day, with the smaller numbers at the start of the trip and the bigger ones at the end. My record was 160 miles because am I doing my maths right? 150 miles. I did a long day of about 100 miles and then was granted just about sunset a 50-mile downhill, which I could not resist. Imagine that, a 50-mile downhill. You have to do 50-mile uphills to get those downhills, sadly. What inspired you to cycle? Cycling is the best way of travelling. It's not too fast, it's not too slow, it's affordable. You really experience the places you go through. I've never found a better way to travel than by bicycle. How did you pay to go on your trips? I saved up. I worked for a few years with part-time jobs. I worked in bars. I was in the territorial army, like the part-time weekend army, and yeah, just saved up. And I had £7,000 to last me for 4 years, which probably sounds like quite a lot of money. But if you ask your parents how much it costs just to live a normal life at home, you'll realise that actually cycling around the world is a very, very cheap way to live, as well as a cheap way to have an adventure. Mehmet, toughest terrain? Ooh, perhaps boiling hot sand in the Nubian desert. I think actually the hardest is cold, minus 40 degrees and snow in Siberia. Mason, how did you clean your clothes? I didn't do that much cleaning, although every few weeks I'd get to a town and try and find a washing machine, but in between towns I was pretty dirty and smelly. Occasionally I would just jump in a river in all my clothes and give things a swill that way. Molly, how did you cope in the hottest desert? Oh man, get up ridiculously early before it gets light. cycle until you can't take the heat anymore, then hide. Preferably, ideally, I used to love the drainage pipes under roads in really hot countries to shelter in. Otherwise, rig up a tarpaulin to hide under, or under the shade of a tree, or behind a wall, and then you just hide through the hot, horrible hours until late afternoon, dusk, and then blast out a few more hours in the evening. And of course, drink lots of water as well. I was drinking about 10 litres a day in the hot places. Tia asks, how did you feel when you reached the end? Getting to the end of the world, back to the beginning, back home again, was weird. It was exciting. I felt proud. I felt delighted to see my friends and family again. But I also felt sad that this huge adventure was over, and I felt a bit scared about the uncertainty of what might come next in my life. So it was a real mixture of feelings. Aidan, how did you deal with the various temperatures? Well, hot temperatures aren't too bad. You just don't wear many clothes, have a big hat, sun cream, and loads of water. Really cold places, so the Andes or Siberia, you need decent winter gear. So for those places, like really expensive big sleeping bags, expensive down, fluffy jackets, and for those, I would my mum would post out to me my big winter sleeping bag, and I'd use it for 6 months or so, and then post it back home. Probably quite smelly. Lovely mum would clean it for me until the next time I got to a winter part of the world. Freya, what was the best thing you learned? I learned going on adventures teaches you a lot of self-confidence. You learn that you are better at things than you ever imagined you were. That's a real reason to try and do difficult things. And I also learned that the world is a good, kind, friendly place, full of good, kind, friendly people, regardless of race or religion or how rich people were. The world really is a good, lovely place to go and have adventures in. How many people invited you into the homes? Asked Emmy. Well, linking on from my last answer, so many people, random people would meet me, be interested in what I did and invite me to their home. Dozens and dozens, 50, 100 people probably invited me into their homes. I'm not too sure. Max, what was your favourite foreign food? Very important question for cyclists. Oh, favourite foreign food on the trip? Very hard question. Maybe Lebanese, that was delicious. Falafel, hummus, baba ganoush, tabbouleh. South African barbecues, very nice. Andean guinea pigs, not so nice. Japan, wonderful food. Occasionally absolutely disgusting, but delicious. Chinese, I'm sure you've probably tried delicious Chinese. Food in China doesn't really taste like it does from the local Chinese takeaway, though. Much fresher, really. And then a little country called Georgia. I love the food from there. Whoa, you're making me hungry now. Time for my tea as well. Thank you so much for reading my book. I really hope that it's encouraged you to go find some adventures of your own. I know we're in lockdown, but you can still find adventure. You can be an explorer right where you live. If you head out your front door, I promise you, within 1 kilometre of your front door, you will find a street or a footpath or a bit of wood that you've never ever been down before. And if you go down that, then you are being an explorer. So that's my challenge to finish with. Can you go be an explorer? Go somewhere you've never been with your family in the next week. That's my challenge. Good luck.